Hey guys, we're back with the notes for 6.3. Today we're going to be talking about polynomial operations. Basically what that means is we're going to learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide using our polynomials, our binomials, and our trinomials. Okay? So I'm going to have you write down what you see for just a quick second. And then let's go ahead and get started. Remember, you can pause anytime if you need more time to write stuff down. Okay? All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is adding polynomials. Whenever you are adding polynomials, all we are going to do is distribute the ones or the imaginary ones that come before the parentheses, and then we're going to CLT, which means combine our like terms. Like terms, again, remember that's anybody with an x partners with another x. Any x squared would combine with another x squared. Any constant, like a 4, would combine with another constant, like a minus 7. Okay? All right, so if I distribute a positive 1 to both of these polynomials, we're going to have 4x squared plus 6x, nothing really changed. We're going to distribute the positive 1 to the next binomial, so plus 3x plus 9x squared. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to be looking for my like terms. So if I notice 4x squared can combine with another x squared, I have a 4 and a plus 9, that's going to make 13x squareds. Next thing I look at is I notice that my 6x and my 3x could combine. They're both x's. 6 plus 3 is going to make 9, so plus 9x. Take a second, write that one down. If you need more time, you can always pause it. Problem number 2, we're going to start by distributing again. I'm going to put in my ones outside of the parentheses, and we're going to distribute. Distribute to both terms inside of the parenthesis. So if I distribute a 1, I have 5x squared minus 2x. If I distribute the 1, I have a positive 4x squared and a minus 7x to the third power. Now, that x to the third power is the highest power or the highest degree in that problem. So he is going to be my starter. I'm going to write him first. So negative 7x to the third. My second highest power is going to be 5x squared. 5x squared can combine with the 4x squared. 5 plus 4 makes 9. 9x squared. That negative 2x, he's by himself. There's no more x's, so I would just put him at the end, minus 2x. So far we have 2 problems with answers. This was our first answer. This is our second answer. All right, problem 3 doesn't have any parentheses, so there's nothing to distribute. We're only going to combine like terms. So I look for my highest degree. I have x to the 4th power. I have 2 of those. So 6 plus 3 makes 9x to the 4th power. I have no third powers, but I do have a lot of squareds. Now, notice that these are different. The 6 has an x squared. The 2 has a y squared. Those are not like terms. So I can combine the 6x squared and the 2x squared. They're like terms. That would make 8x squared. But this minus 2y is going to have to be on its own. I do not have anything to combine that with. So our final answer is that yellow part. Take a second, pause the screen if you need to. We're going to move on to subtracting. All right, subtracting is the exact same as adding. First you're going to distribute, then combine. The only difference is on these problems, when I distribute, it's still a 1, but the middle parenthesis is going to be distributing a negative. So here I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Here I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Here I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Okay, so the first one is positive. The second one is going to be negative. Okay, let's see what that looks like. On problem 1, we're writing out 4x squared plus 6x, but negative 1 times 3 is negative 3x. And negative 1 times 9x squared is a minus 9x squared. So I'm still going through, I'm looking at my squareds. 4 minus 9 is a negative 5x squared. 6x minus 3x gives me a positive 3x. This is your answer. Okay. Let's try number 2. I'm going to distribute again. Distribute a positive 1 gives me 7x squared plus 8. Distributing a negative 1, we have a negative 1 times negative 5. That makes a positive 5x squared. And we have a negative 1 times a positive 1. That makes a minus 1. X squareds are going to combine. So 7 plus 5 makes 12 x squareds. 8 and the minus 1 are going to combine. 8 minus 1 is a positive 7. So this is your answer for the second problem. Okay, last one like this. Problem 3, we're going to distribute a positive 1. That keeps it the same. 6x squared and a plus 5. But distributing a negative changes the sign. So negative 1 times 2 is a minus 2x squared. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a plus 3. Same thing, we're going to combine our x squareds. 6 minus 2 gives me 4x squared. Combine our constants. So 5 and a plus 3 makes 8. This is your final answer. Okay. If you need to pause the screen, write down anything you missed on subtracting. Otherwise, flip the page. We're going on to multiplication. All right, when it comes to multiplying polynomials, here's what you need to know. We're going to be distributing just like we have been, but remember that when you multiply, we multiply the big numbers, the bases, and we add up the exponents, okay? If the bases are different, then we would keep them separate, okay? Or sorry, if the variables are different. I guess I should say that differently. Okay, so let's go ahead and distribute. I'm going to take 7b squared times 4b to the third. So 7 times 4 is 28. How many total b's do they have together? Well, there's 2 on the outside, 3 on the inside, makes a total of 5. I add them together, okay? I'm going to change colors, and we're going to distribute to the second part. So 7b squared times a negative 3. 7 times negative 3 is a negative 21. All I have for b's is the b squared that's coming in. I can't combine them. They're not like terms. So this whole thing right here is my answer. Okay, let's try number 2. Number 2, I'm going to distribute to the first term. Multiply the numbers. Negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. Add up your exponents. So how many total x's? Well, I have 1. Let me make that a 1, sorry. I have 1 on the outside. I have 2 on the inside, so that makes a total of 3. Then I have y's. There's 1 y on the outside, 1 y on the inside. That makes a total of 2. Okay. Then we distribute to the second term. Negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12. I only have the 1x coming in from the outside, but this time I have a y on the outside and 1 more y on the inside. That makes y squared. Okay. That full thing is not like terms, so we're going to leave that as our answer. All right, last problem of multiplication. 5x times x squared. There's no number to multiply, so keep the 5. 1x on the outside, 2 on the inside. That makes a total of x to the third power. Distribute to the second term. 5 times 6 is a positive 30. I have 1x coming in from the outside and 2 y's that are already in there. So it should be x to the first power y squared. Okay? All right, if you missed anything, pause it, take a second to write it down. These are your final answers. We have only dividing left. Meet you down there. All right, last one. When it comes to dividing polynomials, the first thing you need to know is that we're going to want to rewrite it. We're going to want to take that bottom term and divide it out of everything. So here's how I like to do that. I like to take my top line and copy it one more time. Okay, same thing down here. I'm going to copy down my top line. Same thing on the last question, copy down just my top line. Okay, then I'm going to go back on my bottom part, and instead of making it one big fraction, I'm going to rewrite it so that this bottom number is dividing underneath both of them. So 2x is under both of them. On this problem, I'm going to make sure that the 4x squared divides under both or all three of them. So 4x squared, 4x squared, 4x squared. Okay. Last one, problem theory, we're going to do the same thing. Make sure the 6 divides out of all of them. So divide by 6x to the third, divide by 6x to the third, divide by 6x to the third. Okay. My last step is just to simplify. Remember that when we're simplifying fractions and they have exponents in them, we divide the coefficients or divide the front numbers. We subtract our exponents. Okay. All right, so give me just a second. Try and make kind of a highlight tool. Perfect. All right, so let's say I'm simplifying this term. 2 divided by 2 is a 1. Who has more x's? The top level. How many more does he have? He has 2 extras. Then I would go to this term, and I would say 4 divided by 2 is a 2. Top has more x's. 2 minus 1 is just 1 left over. Okay, so just so that we can agree, I am fine with this answer. I am also fine with x squared plus 2x. So I don't need the 1 here, and I don't need the 1 here. You can put them there. I won't count it wrong, but I don't need them. Okay, so either one of these answers would be fine. Let's go down to this next one. We're going to divide all of the big numbers. So let's do that first. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do my x's. 5 exponent, subtract the 2 gives me 3 x's. That's right here. 5 is bigger than 2. 5 minus 2 makes 3. I'm going to subtract these exponents. 3 minus 2 makes x to the first power. And then I'm going to look at this last part. X squared and x squared, they're going to cancel. There's no more x's. So we don't put any x's over here with this 1. Okay, that right there is a final answer. Last part is number 3. 6 divided out of 18 is going to give us 3. 7 subtract 3 is going to give us x to the 4th power. If I move it over 1, we have a minus sign. 6 does not divide out of 10. So what I do is I would type this in the calculator to simplify it. 10 divided by 6 is going to give us 5 over 3. And then next to it I can do x squared. That's 5 minus 3 makes x squared. Last part, 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. X to the thirds cancel, so I don't have anything left right there. There's no x's with the 4. This is your full final answer. Okay? All right, your assignment is going to be 6.3. I'm here for tutorials if you need help. Otherwise, go ahead and complete the assignment.